A very good afternoon to all of you. Myself, Dr. Abhishek Kumar Singh, working as Assistant Professor in Department of Management Studies at Ramanujan College, University of Delhi. I just welcome to all of you into our this new refresher courses in the field of management and commerce. Today we are going to discuss about National Education Policy 2020. This National Education Policy was earlier formed in 1986 with the further amendments in 1992 for the betterment in the field of education. National Education Policy 2020 is the first education policy for the 21st century and replaces the 34-year-old National Policy on Education. National Education Policy is 2020 is supposed to be the game changer in the field of education. This education policy helps in total transformation in the field of infrastructural changes, in the field of academic section. It also helps and it is also going to be transformed the accreditation policy as well as the learning ability among the students. National education policy is supposed to be make a drastic change into the learning ability and the learning outcome among the students. It helps in build under the fundamental pillars of access, equity, quality, affordability and accountability. This policy mainly focus on equality among the students and as well as among the teachers. This education policy also helps the affordability to each and every student to get the basic education. This policy is aligned to the 2030 agenda for the sustainable development and aims to transform the India into a vibrant knowledge society. The national education policy is known to be as a global knowledge superpower by making both school and college education more holistic, flexible, multidisciplinary, suited to the 21st century requirement. The national education policy, keeping in view the holistic development of the teachers as well as students for their learning and making the use of the subject knowledge in various fields of society. This national education policy aimed at bringing out the unique capability of each student. The national education policy in the field of higher education is also help in research and development various projects. The basic foundation pillar of national education policy. The main purpose and motive of this 21st century national education policy is about the access. The education must be accessible to each and every students into the society. The second pillar of national education policy is equity. Equity is subject for equality among each and everyone. There may not be any kind of gender biasness, caste basis or other differentiation. Each and every girl and boys must get educated from this national education policy reforms. The another pillar for national education policy is quality. The quality of education is also being transformed under this policy requirement. There are various provisions has been made under this national education policy to prove and to create a better quality for the teachers as well as the student learning programs. The another pillar for the national education policy is affordability. Since as we all know that the education is being commercialized in various sectors of the society, so under the national education policy, government tries the education must be the basic one of the basic need for each and every human being living into the society. providing the free education and the free technological requirement of each student as well as the teacher is one of the key requirements for the transformation of National Education Policy 2020. And the last pillar for this National Education Policy is accountability. Accountability is for answerability. So, it is also one of the pillar under the National Education Policy that each and every person is answerable under this National Education Policy, where the whatever effort has been made, the result outcome is also one of the key requirement among the National Education Policy 2020. They are the various silent features of this National Education Policy 2020. The first one is policy is aligned with the 2030 Sustainable Development Goal and aims to transform the India into a vibrant knowledge society and a global knowledge superpower. The overall focus is to make the India as the super knowledge power into the world. Making education more holistic, flexible, multidisciplinary to cater to the need and the requirement of 21st century. It is the need of the time where the each and every student as well as the teacher must acknowledge and must aware about the recent development taking into the field of technology and other fields. The another features, silent features of National Education Policy, it helps it to recruit the very best and the brightest star to enter the teaching profession by ensuring the livelihood, respect, dignity and autonomy while also instilling basic methods of quality control and accountability. Since the teacher is supposed to be the super centric under this National Education Policy because he is going to be the playing key role among the delivery of knowledge among the student. The requirement of teachers is also one of the basic need is made under this provision that it's required the basic livelihoods, respect and the dignity and autonomy is also kept in mind while drafting this National Education Policy. There are some of the vision under the National Education Policy 2020. So, the first one is an education system rooted in Indian ethos helping to transform the India sustainability into a vibrant knowledge society by providing the high quality of education. Overall, the government focuses the quality education must be generated. Quality education with respect to research, with respect to the development, with respect to the other transformation among the existing policies. The another reason for National Education Policy 2020 is developing a curriculum helping to develop respect towards the fundamental duties and constitution's values, thereby also creating a sense of fraternity and consciousness among its citizens. The another reason for National Education Policy 2020 is to instill a deep-rooted pride in field of Indian not only in thought but also in spirit, intellect, skill, values, dispositions and other support idea of being a global and sustainable citizen. Since the government targets the skill development is also one of the key requirements for each individual who is working into the society. While learning a new skill will help into the recruitment process as well as employability among the person living into the society. There are various key principles among the National Education Policy 2020. If we talk about the first basic principle among the National Education Policy is respect for diversity and the local context. So, diversity must be there. There are the various students is studying from the different parts of the country, suppose in Delhi. So, there must be a common syllabus for each and every graduation level courses. The second one is equity and inclusion. inclusion and equality is with respect to the providing the education among the student, and those who are not the mainstream line for getting the basic education is also one of the key requirement principle among this national education policy. The another one is the community and the participation. Since we are living into the society where the much more knowledge we get from the society, and providing the basic needs and requirement to that unprivileged section of the society, a basic education will help into the development of overall society, and this will also leads to the upliftment of their standard of living. The another principle is the use of technology. As we all know, at the present era, each student and the teachers and the various other peoples are using technology very flexibility. So, while using the technology for the various other purpose, the government also tries to provide the free of cost education with the various platforms like as a MOOC or like as a Swayam and other Pathshala. These are the various portals where the online videos are uploaded, where the various teachers into among the different states of the India. So, the students who are not in a position to get these education, advanced learning from various private institutions, so they can easily access these video and they get learn about the new technology and their basic knowledge they may increase. The another principle is emphasis conceptual understanding. So, basic conceptual or the fundamental understanding of each and every education is also one of the key requirement among this National Education Policy 2020. If the fundamental is being strong among the student, they may get aware and they may learn new thing, new knowledge, new avenues, new technology at the advanced level. And the unique capability is another key principle of national education policy, like providing a unique capability, like a student having their unique strength among their various activities. Under the national education policy, increase in gross enrollment ratio to the 50% by the 2035. National Education Policy 2020 aims to increase the gross enrollment ratio in a higher education, including the vocational education, to the 50% by adding 3.5 crores of the new seats to the higher education institution. Government also making the provision to enroll much more student up to the 50% by 2035. Achieving the academic integration and the social inclusion for the equitable learning outcomes. So, learning outcome is also one of the key factor among this national education policy. National Education Policy 2020 recognizes that the sum of the problem currently facing by the higher education system in India includes lesser emphasis placed on developing cognitive skills and improving the learning outcomes. Providing equity in learning outcomes for early childhood care and education through higher education is one of the major goals of national education policy. There are various kind of a drawback among this national education policy earlier which we have been drafted with respect to the higher education system in India. A rigid separation of disciplines with early specialization and streaming student into the narrow areas of study. Like if a student is from the history background, he may not supposed to learn the finance from the commerce background. But under this national education policy, the provision has been made the student can choose their subject as per their favorite subject, or they may choose their subject as per their requirement. The another drawback is the limited access, particularly in social economically disadvantaged area with a few higher education institutions that teach in a local language. With this national education policy is provide a local at a global level of education at each and every higher education institutions. The another drawback is the limited teacher and the institutional autonomy. Since, as we all know, once the teacher is not there in any education society or institutions, there may not be any fruitful result from the student. And institutional autonomy is also being provided under this national education policy. The another drawback is inadequate mechanism for merit-based career management and the progression of faculty and institutional leaders. The another one is the lesser emphasis on the research at most of the university and the colleges and the lack of competitive peer-reviewed research funding across the disciplines. So it has also been found that there is a lesser of the emphasis on the research among the institutions of higher education as well as various state university as well as the central university. Under this national education policy, it has been tried to make the institutions and various other university to be research focused, and with this research there must be an outcome from the research point of view, and those research must be beneficial to the society. The last one is suboptimal governance and the leadership among the higher education institutions. Creating a leadership quality among the various higher education institutions, the provision has been made under this national education policy. A good governance, a good environment for the education and leadership generating quality must also be created under the various higher education system in India. So there are the various kind of the solution of this current problem. The first one is moving towards the more multidisciplinary undergraduate education. If we talk about the Delhi University, they have introduced the 4-year undergraduate courses and providing the student the various subjects. There are a large number of subjects as a general elective and the elective as they may choose as per their requirement or as per their employability. The another solution for this current problem is moving towards the faculty and the institutional autonomy. The national education policy provides the autonomy to the institution for their creation of their fund as well as for the research and development funding. The another solution is reaffirming the integrity of faculty and the institutional leadership position through the merit appointment and the career progression based on teaching, research and the services. Under the national education policy, it has been kept in mind that the teacher must comes under the merit basis and they must have a research oriented as well as the teaching oriented into their career of teachers. The another solution of such problems are establishing a national research foundation to fund the outstanding peer-reviewed research and to actively seed the research in the university and the colleges. It has also been made provision that the National Research Foundation must be established, providing the funding facility among various institutions and the university so that they may be mainly focused on the research and various developing avenues. The another solution is governance of higher education institution by high qualified independent boards having the academic and the administrative autonomy, providing a good governance environment among the higher education institution with the highly qualified teachers as well as administrative power is also one of the solutions under this national education policy. And the last one is the light but tight regulation by a single regulator for a higher education system. We have to hold lightly but tightly we have to implement this National Education Policy 2020. With the overall this, under the National Education Policy 2020, the government tries to mainly focus on the research and development under the higher education, and the teachers' overall holistic development must be there. Once the teachers being introduced with a highly qualified and sound academic background, the education institution as well as the Indian universities must be benefited with this education policy. With overall all these, I thank you from my side. Thank you.